In this video, we're going to talk about date time helpers. As you can see here, I'm looking at the API for Ruby on Rails located at api.rubyonrails.com, and specifically I'm looking at the module for date helper, and I got to that by finding the date select method here, and I just clicked on it and it took me down to the date select method, and then I scrolled up. So these are pretty much all of our helpers that we can use for displaying and entering dates via our views. The difference between the two types here is that, which there are two types, we have the date select, date time select, and these, versus the select and then an object, is that these top ones deal with active record models. So if we jump over to our code for our Movie Critic application we've been working with, you can see here's date time select, and it expects an object and an attribute of that object. And so on screen what we're looking at is this screen where we have this date time selector all worked out for us. This is tied directly back to this object. So when we go into our controller to create, we just call the parameters for that, and that particular object, the comment object, is going to have the attribute of created at set to that particular date and time. Now to use one of the other selects that doesn't connect to a particular object, it is just tied to a text field, we can just simply use something like a date time equal time. So we're just going to go ahead and call this, and we're just going to have a local variable here called a date time. And let's go ahead and load it, and let's recall this, and we'll see. Now we just get a selector, and it's formatted a little bit differently. We don't have these separators like we do, and that's because when this code is called, it actually is using some of these. It builds it up from some of these. It sets the attributes on these and comes back with it. So they're able to, in that code, do this nice formatting with the dash here and the colon here. So when you instantiate one of these, or you call this, this will come in, the date time select will have, by default, will be the current date and time. But you can certainly change that to be any time, and if this is carrying a value in here, it'll have that value. And specifically here, if this is set to a value, it's going to have that value. So using the date time helpers makes it fairly easy to have date time selection screens on your web forms.